every series is completed at the time we're filming, except for the LA Clippers and Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
But let's start with Utah Memphis.
Yeah.
Fantastic series for Ja.
Yeah.
Really stepped up. I think you agree he was the best player in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, so far I think he has been. He's really taken that Memphis team to places that we didn't. I kind of expected just a sweep when Memphis got in there.
I think a sweep would have been possible if Donovan Mitchell was there for game one.
Yeah.
But I didn't see them getting past Golden State or getting past that play-in round, which they did. They proved us wrong, and they did so well.
And it was Ja that did that.
Yeah.
Ja got them there almost single-handedly. He had a good outing from Dylan Brooks in game one, who put up 31, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, once Mitchell came back, that team looked complete. The Jazz looked like the best team in the NBA, which they finished the regular season as.
Yep.
Yeah.
Surely no stopping them.
No, there isn't. They're a deep team.
At least not by Memphis.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, applause to Ja. We have the Clippers and Dallas. Dallas got their lead back. It's 3-2. Luka is phenomenal.
He's doing it on his own, and it's working.
Yes, he's legitimately doing it on his own. There's really no support.
Tim Hardaway Jr. has had a good series. He had a 28-point game in game one, and he had a 20-point game in game five. But other than that, that's really been, I think Porzingis has a 20-point game in there, but there's been no consistency.
No.
It's been Luka's been the only consistent guy, and maybe he has one other person help him out there.
Maybe, yeah. There's no reliability on that depth chart.
The bench presence has not been there. I expected more out of Jalen Brunson and company, and
Yep.
it has not been there.
But
I think they can get out of it.
Yeah, it's very possible. I don't know what the Clippers do from here. They absolutely need to win this series because if Kawhi leaves and they have to go through a rebuild, it's going to take them years to bounce back.
Bold take, if they lose this series, Kawhi's gone.
Oh, I don't think that's bold.
No ifs, ands,
that's
or buts.
not bold.
I think he
he's gone.
very well looks at Miami as a possibility to go play on a team that's close to making it back to the finals.
Clippers have to go deep, but even then, I think Kawhi wants out.
Yeah.
But anyways, Denver and Portland, Damian Lillard is the greatest clutch player of our generation. He put up 55 points in game 5.
12 threes.
Yeah. And what was it? I believe he scored 19 of whatever they got in double overtime.
Absolute mad lad.
Like 19 points in 2 quarters. And 2 overtime quarters where they're supposed to be shutting you down.
And they still lost.
Yeah, because it was just him. He put up 19 points and the rest of the team, I think, got 21 or something. He got 19 of 21 points. Something like that.
Yeah. There's very few players I feel like very bad for, and Dame's one of them. That guy just never gets the lot. Like he's made the Western Conference Finals once.
Yeah.
And
to be outed by Golden State in 7. That series went the distance.
I don't think it did. I think it went 6.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. They took him for a ride.
Yeah.
But, I feel bad for him. He really has not had the consistent support there. It didn't help that, they could have finished a little better this year if Nurkic hadn't gone out for extended periods of time with his wrist injury, if Zach Collins hadn't been out. I think if they had guys like Norm Powell there from the beginning, it would have been good. And if only they had had Carmelo Anthony from his Knicks days. He looked a little inconsistent, especially in the playoffs.
Yep.
And also, maybe I have another bold take here. Dame does not come back to Portland next year.
Really?
There apparently, I was watching First Take today, and Stephen A. Smith said a lot of his sources had been saying there's a lot of teams that had been kicked out of the playoffs in the first round that were calling Portland's front office inquiring about Damian Lillard. The Knicks being reportedly one of them. Knicks have a ton of cap space this year.
Yep.
And the Knicks look promising with Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley. I think in any trade, Emmanuel Quickley might have to go back. But, we'll break that down if and when it happens.
Yep.
But I don't think Dame is back there next year. I think this is the last straw. I think he's probably getting frustrated at this point and does want to win. He said he's never going to ring chase. And I don't think he will. I think he'll go to a team where he still has to work for it.
Yep.
But another team that has a lot of money, that big market team, Chicago Bulls, they're looking they're looking promising now. So I think that might be a team to look out for. But yeah, I don't think Dame comes back.
Okay. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how that goes. But Phoenix and LA, Anthony Davis.
Street clothes Davis, as Charles Barkley's calling him now.
Yeah.
He's always injured. He's injured when it matters most. He wasn't there. He wasn't there for them in Game 6.
For this season, yeah, those two injuries, because both of their stars were injured. LeBron was playing hurt. It was very obvious he was playing hurt. LA should have known not to put Davis in because he saw in the 5 minutes he was not prepared to play.
No.
And had they prepared to play without him, they would have had a shot at that game.
They would have.
Lakers were fantastic in the second half. But now they were benching Paul and Booker because they were up so much.
Yeah.
But still, it would have been more competitive had they not played Davis and prepared their game plan around not having Davis.
And did somebody turn back the clocks again? Because LeBron James walked out on his team in the playoffs again.
Yeah.
2010, he walked out on the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals when they were losing to the Celtics. Walked out in Game 6. Last night, walked out in Game 6. Just under 8 minutes left in the fourth. They were only down by 12.
Yeah.
Kyle Kuzma puts up a bad shot. He says, "I'm done." Walks off, and Phoenix proceeds to blow them out after that. So it was not a good look. It just been a frustrating year for the Lakers, having to go through the play-in, missing LeBron for a third of this, really half the season at that point.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis was out for a while. Anthony Davis has missed a third of his games over the past 3 years. So he's missed a full season.
Yeah.
Really. I'm not saying that the Lakers are done. I think they definitely look to add this offseason.
Oh, they definitely need to.
They're not a 7 seed.
No, there's too much strain on their big two guys, and that's really all they had.
A lot of people slept on Phoenix, though. And I was one of the people that said, don't sleep on this team. They're deep. And they did what I thought they were going to do.
The issue for me is I didn't realize how hurt LeBron and AD were.
I don't think anyone realized how hurt LeBron was.
Yeah.
I think AD was a little different because we come to expect AD's injuries at this point.
But the thing is at the end of the season, there were games where he's putting up numbers.
He was. But yeah, I kind of saw an AD injury coming.
Yeah.
Kind of. But he did play well early on in games 2 and 3. Like after both him and LeBron had a terrible game 1 where they put up 29 points combined.
Yeah.
He played well in game 2 and 3. He was almost unguardable at that point. And then he went down in game 4, didn't play game 5, showing off those street clothes. But I picked it because I had Phoenix going to the finals. I kind of saw this coming. Again, didn't realize how injured LeBron was. But yeah.
Yep. So for the West, we have Utah versus probably Dallas, maybe the Clippers. We have Phoenix versus Denver, and let's move on to the East.
Yep.
Philadelphia takes out Washington in 5.
And I think someone picked Washington to move on.
I did pick Washington to move
clown.
on. Looking foolish there.
Yeah.
I gotta say, disclaimer, I wasn't overly serious about this NBA bracket. Not to backpedal.
You say that now.
Not to
backpedal. Say that
now. Because I had all my cards in on Brooklyn winning the East.
Yeah.
If I could have a second chance here, I'll take Philadelphia. But they're going up against Atlanta, who took out the Knicks.
Yep.
And with Joel Embiid out, I think Atlanta has a legitimate shot.
And it'll be tricky because they haven't Joel Embiid out.
Yeah, long term.
He's still considered day to day, but without him, they're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
They have enough to beat the Wizards without him, with Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Seth Curry.
But Atlanta's a real team.
Atlanta's a real team, and Atlanta is a lot more real of a team than I expected them to be.
Yep.
against the Knicks.
Well, the Knicks, Barrett and Randall, for the most part, did not show up. Their best player
No,
was
they
Derrick
did.
Rose, which is all right,
he
but
can't
he
be your
can't be
best
your
player.
number one.
No.
For a team on a deep run, at best he's got to be third.
Yeah.
To get a series over Atlanta, he's at best got to be your second option.
Yeah, for sure. And can we just say that Trae Young has arrived?
Oh, for sure.
That was the one thing when I picked the Knicks to win. I picked it off of their
Regular season.
the regular season. They had, I think it was the second best defense behind the Lakers in the league. Their defense didn't show up.
No.
It did not show up, and I think the one thing I was forgetting, I thought that there would be a lot of guys that would have to step up to complement Trae Young. I did not take into account that Trae Young was going to step up himself.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different Trae, and he even has that attitude. He's got that swagger where he's bowing to the fans at MSG.
Yeah.
He is like, he looks comfortable, and he looks like this is the stage for him. And I want to bring this up here. Trae Young will always be known as the guy that they flip-flopped picks with
For Luka
Doncic.
Well, it was Trae Young, and they got the first the following year.
Yeah.
From Dallas.
But they could have had Luka. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, Luka Doncic is considered, maybe the next best, the next man up.
Yeah.
As the best player in the league, and he's looking like it now. But Trae Young's advanced to the second round. If Dallas doesn't advance to the second round, Trae Young's gone farther in the playoffs than Luka Doncic has. Dallas has never moved on.
Yeah, but Dallas doesn't have a team.
I just think it's interesting that Trae Young with a Hawks team that was bad. The Hawks didn't get invited to the bubble last year.
Yeah.
People expected them to do better. I don't think people expected them to finish fifth and then to beat the Knicks.
But again, the Knicks weren't the regular season Knicks.
No.
Not to discredit the Hawks for their win.
No.
Because I still think they have a legitimate shot, and I'm almost ready to pick them over Philadelphia. I would have to see how game one goes.
I would not be shocked if they beat Philadelphia.
No, not at all.
I think they match up
either way now.
They match up better against Philadelphia than the Knicks would. So
yeah.
And if they don't have Joel Embiid, Clint Capella and John Collins are about to eat.
Yes.
And they are about to go to town in the paint.
Yep.
So that'll be. I'm looking forward to watching the Sixers Hawks.
Yep. So then you have the Milwaukee sweep over Miami. Butler and the boys did not show up.
It's not the bubble anymore.
Yeah. They have real pressure on them, real fans in attendance.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what to say after watching that game one. We talked about it last week. After watching that game one, I thought it was going to be a lot better of a series.
Yeah.
I thought even after going down 3-0, I thought that I didn't think that Jimmy Butler would allow a sweep to happen, even with how bad he was in games 2 and 3.
They weren't there mentally.
No, and they weren't there. And again, we talked about it last week. I questioned why Tyler Hero was buried on the bench like that. There was a lot of things that I thought were a little weird about Bam Adebayo. Wasn't, the Bam Adebayo we saw in the bubble that almost single-handedly took down the Celtics. It was constantly into Adebayo, in the paint to Adebayo.
Yeah.
And, that it wasn't there. They countered it very well. Brook Lopez did a good job on him. Giannis did a good job on him. And the Bucks have a big three. People have to realize that Chris Middleton has stepped up and scored. And Drew Holiday, they've taken a lot of the pressure off of Giannis. They look complete.
Yeah.
And for the sake of Mike Budenholzer's job, they have to make the Eastern Conference Finals. They've already said they're changing coaches if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, which is going to be tough because they're playing Brooklyn, who took out not the Boston Celtics. They took out Jason Tatum.
Yeah, Boston Celtics didn't show up.
No. Except for one game, and that game they won. Kemba wasn't there at all.
No, Kemba was there. I think there was one game in the playoffs. He played pretty well. He was there in the play-in tournament. He played well, but we did not see a consistent Kemba. But it was consistent in the sense that this is the Kemba we saw all season.
Yep.
He was injured for the first month plus of the year, came back, never really found his footing. I don't think this is going to be a trend. I think if Kemba is healthy, start of next year, I think we're going to see the Kemba we are used to seeing.
Yeah.
The Charlotte Kemba, the first year Boston Kemba. You know, he took them and was a huge part in their Eastern Conference Finals run. They were close to knocking out Miami. So I think even with the changes of Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens and the new coach, I think this team is in a decent spot. And if they had Jaylen Brown, Jaylen Brown is their second best player.
Oh, for sure.
To be honest, there were certain points that next to Jason Tatum, even Jaylen Brown injured on the bench was their second best player of that series. They don't have a big man.
But imagine going from 2018, that 2018 Boston Celtics team with so much hope.
So much hope.
It seems like it's all been pissed away.
It makes you miss the 1980 Celtics, the 2008 Celtics, which really made me love basketball.
Yeah.
I just want those glory days back for Boston. It's good for basketball, not just as a Celtics fan, but it's good for basketball too, especially when the Lakers they didn't play well this year, but you know, coming off of winning a championship last year, when the Lakers play well, you kind of expect the Celtics to be there too.
Yep.
And credit to the Brooklyn Nets. They've built a juggernaut of a team.
Oh, for sure.
And
that's where it's going to be tough for Milwaukee, but I do think Milwaukee can do some damage.
They can. I wouldn't be surprised if they won.
I'm still betting on Brooklyn, but I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Milwaukee won this series.
The fact that I picked Brooklyn, even from the beginning of the season, that they were going to win, because once I heard that Harden was in the mix, and like if they get Harden, it's over.
Yeah.
And they look good. They looked very good, the three of them, with the limited amount of time they played. I think it was 11 games in the regular season.
They're playing together. Well together.
They are playing well together. And they're all the type of guys that complement each other.
Yeah.
James Harden is arguably the greatest playmaker in the game right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is the most diverse scorer. He can beat you in so many ways. Kyrie Irving has the best ball handling skills. Next to Russell Westbrook and De'Aaron Fox, he's probably the most explosive guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
And his defense has been there too, just locked down on the perimeter. So, I still think Brooklyn beats the Bucks the next round, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks pull up and look better than the Bucks traditionally have.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to come out as flat as they did against Miami last year when they lost 4-1.
Oh,
and
no.
Giannis was barely there, so...
No.